Okay, unmuted. Hello everyone, my name is Zell again. After that, we are going to be doing a relatively normal run, all things considered, with Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl any percent
Totally.
by Nearest Squared, so there you go.
Yep. All right. So yeah, I'm Nerd. I run quite a few games, and of course, Pokemon is among them. Today, I'll be playing Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, which is a remake on the Switch of the Sinnoh games that you might recognize from Generation 4. Uh, it's going to be anything but normal. Sorry to spoil it, because this particular patch of the game, which if we go to the home menu here, you can see that's version 1.1.1. It's extremely broken, and I'll get into that as the run goes along, but I'm playing on patch 1.1.1 because the glitches that you're about to see me do, these are only possible on this patch of the game. So I have to play on my copy of the game here, which I basically haven't updated past version 1.1.1 because trying to down patch for games like this are kind of complicated. So anyway, another thing is I'm playing on English because that's just a standard version to run with. So yeah, press yes here after selecting the language. So we can go and get going in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So as I said, this is a Switch remake of the Sinnoh games. Uh, the big thing with this run I guess start off with is text smashing in this game is awful because for some reason, compared to every other Pokemon game that's been out so far, including Legends Arceus, I think, um, the text scrolls really strangely. So we kind of have to employ a really odd mashing technique to get the text to scroll optimally. I kind of do this thing where I jiggle the controller right here between my index fingers to try to get the text to scroll fast. So that can be really hard in your hands, as you might imagine, but thankfully, this game on the leaderboards for all categories allows using turbo controllers, which is really nice. So once I get out of here, I'm going to set a couple of options real quick in the settings. These two settings are pretty typical for Pokemon runs. I set the text speed to fast so the text scrolls on as fast as possible, and it also makes text mashing a little nicer. I also set the battle animations to off so that the game doesn't play an animation anytime my Pokemon or the opponent's Pokemon uses a move. And normally in runs, I would also set the music volume all the way down to 0, because it was discovered when this game came out by a runner named Corvame, who you might recognize. She found that if you turn the music volume all the way down to 0, it skips a lot of jingles that would normally play in the game, like when you pick up a key item or when you get a gym badge from a gym leader. And for any percent in particular, that saves around 15 seconds. But I've decided to keep the music on, just because if I did play with the music off, it would pretty much be awkward silence the whole time with the occasional sound effects. Which, while funny, it would be kind of awkward to watch, so I decided to keep the music on for the sake of the viewer's enjoyment. So, since we have a bit of downtime here in the intro, we're just going here to pick up our starter. I'll go ahead and explain the main glitch of the run, because once we get past this first fight with the Starly and the Verity Lakefront, it gets a little complex pretty quickly. So the main glitch, well, there's several glitches on the run, but this is the main glitch that we really take advantage of. It's a glitch called menu storage. It has to do with a really strange quirk of the game on this patch, where if you do two quick inputs of the confirm button, one right after another, while in the Pokemon summary screen of the menu, you duplicate the menu. And what that effectively means, once I do that, is I can have a menu up, or even several menus layered on top of each other, as you'll see later, while I have control of the trainer character. And that allows us to break the game pretty bad, because we can cancel out of that menu while in an event, like a dialogue with an NPC, or a cutscene, or even an animation, as you'll see in a bit, in order to cancel out of that animation by just backing out of the menu that I had stored. So that's going to be used a lot throughout the run to skip past a lot of what you would normally have to do as part of the story progression, like getting the 8 badges and whatnot. And you'll see that in a bit once I'm done with the Starly fight, because we start breaking the game with menu storage pretty quick as soon as, basically once we get past the 3-minute mark or so, or 4-minute mark. That Starly fight is a little RNG based, as you might imagine with Pokemon. How long that fight takes depends on whether or not the Starly crits, whether or not the Starly decides to use Growl, which it does fairly often, and also how good your Turtwig's attack is. And for a really optimal run of this, you basically can only take Starly fights that get 2 turns, or take 2 turns, 3 turns at the most, so a lot of resets happen there. So I'm going to start setting up the first instance of menu storage. Just going to go into the Pokemon menu here, go to the summary. You might have heard two quick pops there that indicated that I got menu storage by doing 2 inputs basically very close to each other, or almost at the exact same time. And I have to do 2 instances of menu storage for this first trick. I'm going to set up the first instance here during this cutscene with the professor, and I'm going to set up the second part here during this cutscene with Mom. What this will do is I'm going to cancel out of this cutscene, or out of the menu, as I enter the door to Mom's house, and that's going to cause some very funky things to happen. So gotta listen kind of closely. It looks good. Alright, cool. So what I did there was I canceled out of the door entrance animation by just backing out of the menu that I had stored there. And I'm able to walk around the world now. And the crazy thing with that is when you enter that door opening animation, the game freezes the world, so you can't get encounters, and all the NPCs, including all these trainers, are blind as a bat. They can't see a darn thing. So we can go straight to Jubilife City without having to fight any trainers or do any catching tutorials and any of that nonsense. And the reason I'm going to Jubilife City here is because to do some more menu storage shenanigans later, I need to pick up a key item, specifically an old rod, from a building at the edge of the city. And that building is in this city, so I'm going to Jubilife to pick up that old rod. Jubilife as well is also a big hub for a lot of the glitches I'll be setting up for this mid portion of the run. Just make my way over to that gate I was talking about to pick up that old rod. It's in this gate right here. And the glitch that I'm about to do involving this old rod, it's a bit of a complex menu string in order to set up for a trick called Legitate. Because for an out of bounds I'll be doing pretty soon, I need a lot of height to be able to get where I'm going. And the Legitate trick, which you'll see in a second, will allow me to do that. I'm going to go over here because there's this lady I want to talk to for the setup I'm about to do. I'm basically going to store a text box from a conversation with her to set up Legitate. And I'm doing a little thing here where if you open this register prompt and then open a menu prompt on top of that, it lets you store 2 old rods at once there from that 1 old rod I got, which will allow me to bring up that little cross menu, which is necessary for some menu storage setups later. So I stacked a few menus there before talking to this NPC. So I stacked a few menus there before talking to that NPC. I stacked up 2 regular menus, and then that key item menu, because I want to cancel this text box as soon as I go over this ledge. Right there, I just got Legitate. I basically stored that text from that lady who says the GWS isn't ready yet as I went over the ledge, which made me levitate in the air. Because when you talk with her, there's that animation where she pushes you to the right, and I stored that until I went over the ledge, which made me levitate in the air. Alright, so this next part is pretty complicated. I might take a bit of time to concentrate for it, because it's pretty involved with a lot of timing cues and whatnot. So we'll see what happens. Okay. So now I'm out of bounds. Because I got hype from Legitate a bit ago, I'm now able to walk in the void. And I'm doing this because my end goal right now is to get to the Pokemon League. I know, pretty big jump, but roll with it. So I'm trying to go to the Pokemon League, but obviously we'd have to get the 8 gym badges normally to do that. So instead what I'm going to do is just walk in the void for a bit. And I mentioned timing cues a second ago, because since the void is just completely black and you can't see where you're going, at least for the most part, I pretty much have to rely solely on timing cues as well as some audio cues a bit later in order to gain your bearings as to where you are. And you have to be pretty careful with the timing cues because if you're a little off and get lost in the void, you can soft lock pretty easily. If that does happen, though, I have a backup save queued up, so you won't have to worry about soft locking if something like that does happen. Oh, that's really early bonk there. What was that? See, this is what I'm talking about with getting lost in the void. That was kind of spooky. That's okay, I'll just regain my bearings by just bonking against the wall. Nice thing if you do get lost is you can kind of echolocate where you are by just bonking against the wall. And you can usually get back onto where you were going. It's kind of funny, actually, that this void trick, or this void walk as it's called, exists. Because when ILCA, who is the company that made this, was making this game, they did in fact say they wanted to make a faithful remake. So why not bring back the glitches that existed in Gen 4? And actually, there's a reason for those glitches existing in this version, or in this remake. Because the code for this game is literally made right smack on top of the existing code from Gen 4, which is kind of funny. Oh, I think it might have gone too low. Let me go back up to try to fix that. Okay. So I went a little too low there because I was distracted trying to commentate, so I may very well end up getting stuck here, but we'll see what happens. It looks good. We still ended up at the Pokemon League like I was trying to do there, but it might have been a little too low. If I got stuck there, I'll just go ahead and load the backup save. Hopefully I don't have to, but we'll see. So yeah, as you can see, we ended up in the Pokemon League there. It's there, I promise. And I saved and exited there because I had to reload there for the league to actually appear, because as you can see, it was deloaded. And even if you know this path, trying to get into the league still involves a little bit of guesswork because you can't see exactly where you are due to the void being pitch black. So I may have ended up in a very wrong position here, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, that's gonna have to load the backup there. That's a shame, but thankfully with this backup, the trainer name is gonna be the same, so it won't affect much. So yeah, what happened there was I was a little too high and ended up getting stuck in this in the collision wall surrounding the league. Uh, what I was trying to do there is end up on the ledge next to the league, or at the very least the ledge a little bit below the league, but I very underestimated where to go, and then I very much overestimated where I wanted to go, or where I was, so I got stuck on the ledge there, and was soft locked. And I'm choosing to load a backup here, instead of just retrying, because the game does have a backup save system, but if I'd loaded the backup save, I would have been put all the way back in Jubilife, which would have wasted several minutes. But yeah, barring that little goof, we ended up at the league. And right after we get in the league, I'm going to do another glitch. It's going to be a 2-menu storages, like I did with the door storage at the beginning. That's going to be a little different. Because instead of just like exiting a door or something with this glitch, we're going to break out of the animation of entering the escalator there. That let me go through the escalator and out of bounds, which I did there because normally you'd have to fight your rival there, but we can't fight our rival right now because we only have a level 5 Turtwig to our name, so we'd get destroyed. And luckily, you can still hit the collision or the trigger for that door, but surrounding that trigger is a big collision box. So I had to save and exit there, which will clip me into the collision box here, so I can hit the load zone from behind. And I'm going to save here because I have to do a similar glitch to what I just did to skip the Elite Four members. Because again, we can't fight the Elite Four members right now or we'd get destroyed. So I have to go around them instead. It's going to involve sandwiching a few menus here. I'm going to do a key item menu, regular menu, and then another key item menu. But I'm going to do a bit of an optimized setup here where I wait to do the third menu in the stack until I get on the elevator. Saves a bit of time there. So there's a few things that happen really quick there because this game goes by so fast. So the three menus I layered there, what I did for the first one is I used the key item menu as I went through the door, which is around a 3-frame window. That froze me in place, so I used the regular menu to free myself. And then I used the third key item, or the second key item rather, to let the animation play that I had stored earlier from leaving the room, or entering the room. And that clipped me through the wall since I was at the top of the room. And that lets me skip fighting all these Elite Four members. I'm going to do this a couple more times to skip the rest of the 4 members. And I'm going to do a similar thing with Cynthia at the very end. But the way that we do it for Cynthia is very different, and well, I'll just let it speak for itself when we get to that point. It's hilarious. And the reason we have to do all this complicated menu stuff to get past the E4 is there is a strat we used to do where we would use a Poké Doll to skip these fights with the glitch, but we can't do that anymore since this route completely avoids getting Poké Dolls. If you're familiar at all with Gen 2 or Gen 3 speedrunning, you might be familiar with what I'm talking about, but since we don't get Poké Dolls anymore, we have to just skip around the fights instead. And doing these all in a row is very nerve-wracking. Because as I said earlier, that initial storage of the door animation, it's around a 3-frame window. And you have to do 4 of these in a row without saving. And if you fail any of them, you soft lock. So it's definitely a little nerve-wracking whenever you do this in a really good run. But I'm used to the timing for it because I have a pretty good visual and audio cue for it. So as you can see, it's going pretty smoothly right now. I say that, and I'm probably going to soft lock on the next one. But we'll see. So I'm going to do one last skip on Lucian here. And we're gonna do a pretty special trick to skip Cynthia. It's a little slower than what we normally do for runs, but oh, I forgot I was even at Cynthia. Can I get on the elevator? Oh, I think I goofed. Ooh. That's okay though, because I saved right before I did it. So many things happen in this run so quickly, it's hard to keep track of what's going on. Oh my gosh. So I completely brain farted there and did the complete wrong thing to what I was planning to do. Well, that's okay, we'll just keep it going. Yeah, the skip anyway, what I was going about before, the skip we do for Cynthia is amazing. It's gonna involve a menu or a key item right here. I'm gonna use the first key item to break out of this cutscene with Cynthia. But I have to wait a bit to use the key item, otherwise the game will soft lock, as you saw earlier. I'm just gonna very slowly walk towards the elevator. And I'm going to use the second key item that I just queued up to break out of this cutscene that plays once I get to the top of the elevator. So not only do we get to skip Cynthia's fight there, but we also skip the first half of a set of cutscenes that play when you go into the Hall of Fame. So we don't have to get any of the 8 gym badges, don't have to fight our rival at all, we don't have to fight any of the Elite Four, or Cynthia, even. We can just go straight to the Hall of Fame. Time is in about 15 to 20 seconds or so, once the game fades to black after this Hall of Fame sequence. "15 IGT is pretty good. I imagine that was probably around 18 minutes or so, given the goofs. Alright, time. That was a speedrun of a broken Pokemon game. But yeah, real quickly, I imagine I can do some shoutouts real quick before we transition, because I'm kind of busy today. I want to get on with stuff, but just real quickly, I want to give some shoutouts to some of the other BDSP runners. Corvame, who found the sound glitch and is also or the zero music volume at 0 trick that I discussed earlier, as well as she's a big glitchless runner as well, and created one of the big early routes of the game with Scyther. So shoutouts to her for that. I also want to shout out Etiquette, who's going to be running this in person at SGDQ 2022 in a couple weeks. So he's going to be doing this category and any percent. So definitely recommend watching that when that marathon comes around. I also want to shout out Aspect, Concern Bomb, Shenanigans, and Pulse Effects, because they were big early routers and runners for this category. Yeah, that's the main shoutouts I wanted to give there.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the run. We will get transition into the next run shortly. Thank you again for submitting this.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good luck with the rest of your day. Okay, we should be ready with Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shine Pearl. Actually, or sorry, with Kingdom Hearts 2 final mix. HD and Hearts. Ooh. Proud Data Organization. What typo is where? Where typo? Oh, Zombites. Oh yeah, okay. Well, it's imported straight from whatever Warbeck put in, so okay,